Cool. All right. On your mark, get set. Of course, draw a nice long rectangle. Give yourself some kind of like a little border to work with. And just like I did with Rigby, this drawing of Mordecai, we're going to have like this gesture line that kind of goes like this because his body's kind of curved. And remember, when I'm drawing in red pencil, it's your lightest line that you can draw. So I'm gonna do something else that I don't normally do. I'm gonna divide this. So this section up here is gonna be the head section. This section right here is gonna be the body section. We'll just say B and H. And then this section down here is going to be the legs because he's got some ridiculously long legs. Cool? All right. So he's got kind of like a little hot dog body, but we're going to actually, before we do that, let's just have fun and go ahead and put the head in there. So the head is just, let's just start with a round circle like the moon. Okay. And because he is a blue jay, which is similar to a cardinal, he's got that kind of two triangle thing on his head going like that. One big triangle and one little triangle. He's got this beak that kind of pokes out like this, and it's actually a little bit angled up. If you look like that, it's not flat like this line here. It's going up just a little bit. And I'm going to do a little curvy shape, backwards C shape back there. And so I've got this really long backwards C shape here. And on the front end of it, his bottom bill is a little bit shorter than his top bill. And all I'm doing here is just making another little backwards C shape like that with one under it. So it kind of looks, here, I'll do it over here. So we got a long backwards C shape. The bottom one is kind of shorter than the top one. And you kind of make that shape on the top and then repeat it just here. Not on the bottom, but just on the top here. And it looks like he's kind of got a three-dimensional, let me see if I can read this. 3D. Here we go. So remember 3D. All right, cool. Right on top of his head, or beak rather.
Make it look like he's facing that way.
Yes. Yeah, he's kind of facing in this direction. One eye, you can see the whole thing, and the other eye is kind of tucked behind the beak, like that. Now, this guy does the artist that drew this guy does a really cool thing that you'll see in like Mickey Mouse and a lot of other characters. They try to kind of show the shape of the cheek by coming over here and stopping at a point and then coming up here. And you've kind of got this little 3 shape a little bit. It's like the number 3. And you just repeat that there. Mickey Mouse does it similarly. Let's see if I can do it upside down without a reference. So we got the eyes, and then here you've got this, and it actually echoes the shape of his eyes over top of his eyes like that. So it's a little similar, but it's a little different. This right here is what I'm talking about, this little thing. On Mordecai, it repeats, but on Mickey, it doesn't. This is all solid. And there's Mickey. Hey, it's Mickey! All right, cool. That was the worst impression of Mickey I've ever heard myself do. So his body. All right, check it out. I said we've got a hot dog shaped body. So this is the center line. Goes all the way through his entire body, including his head. We're going to just go on either side, both sides rather, of this center line, and we're going to go down. We're going to curve it around and then come back up to where we started, just like that. And actually, on this side, you can come all the way up to the head and stop. like that. And what I'm going to do here is just kind of darken up the lines for his head a little bit so you can see him better. Same with his beak and his eyeball and the top of his beak and all that good stuff. And I think I remembered everything. There's a little place on top of his beak that's a little bit different, but I'm not going to worry about that. All right. You with me? You're with me. Yay! I love to hear that. So this center line also lets you, gives you a kind of a place where you can draw the side of his body that's blue. Because like over here it's blue, and over here it's white. So you can kind of come down and then curve around like that. And that's kind of like the part of his body over here that's blue, and the other part's not. And if you want to, you can go ahead while you're here, and he's got some tail feathers. He's got 3 tail feathers sticking out, and just like your fingers, the middle finger is longer than these 2 right here. So think about that when you're doing the tail feathers. You got 1, 2, that one's longer, and then 3. That one's kind of like the other one. And so you can just go up, 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 and you got your tail feathers. Woo! Like it already. On the ends of his tail feathers, he's just got a couple of little lines, little straight lines like this, just as a decoration. Doesn't matter exactly where you put them, they're just kind of towards the end a little bit. So if you've got an extra sheet of paper, let's do this. You can still see what I'm doing. So over here, inside this box that I'm drawing now off to the side, I just want to practice, just so I know that you know how to do it. We're going to just draw the beak again, because right now you've got like looks like an arm or something over top of the beak, which is cool because it's part of your story. But check this out. Draw a long, swoopy, shape like this. It's like, kind of like, what is it like? It's like a hot dog, right? Going in this direction. It's open on this side, okay? Open on that side. And then underneath here where you stopped, where my pencil is now, you're going to do another shape similar, like a little backward C into it, and then meet back at the top. Kind of like we're going away, and then we're coming back. Exactly. Now, right here, the only other thing you need to do is where the top of it meets, come back down, and then stop. So you got kind of like an echo. And if you want to, what you can do is you can color that in so it looks 3-dimensional. All right. Mordecai, we're drawing you, buddy. All right. So for his arm, let me go back to my picture so I can see what I'm doing. I see you. Now I see Mordecai. So Mordecai's doing this, kind of like got my hands up. The police have got me. So what we're going to do is we're going to see where you got this line drawn for, or at least where I've got my line drawn for the top of his head. I'm going to go over here to the corner, and I'm going to go down and then over, and that's going to be the middle part of one of the arms, okay? And I'm going to kind of do the same thing over here, but it doesn't matter if they're the exact same, like symmetrical. It doesn't matter if they're the same on both sides. But I'm just going to go out and then back up like this. So I've kind of got the same shape on both sides. And just like we had a middle line going down the middle of his body, so we created this hot dog shape on the outside, we're going to do the same thing for his arms. We're going to go la la la, curve his elbow, come back over here. And then I'm going to draw a little shoulder here. Just a little circle shape right there under his head. That's the top of his shoulder. I'm going to come out like that. And then I'm going to go a little bit wider for his hands. So it's thinner here than it is up here. It's like a reverse bell bottom. You'll have to ask your dad what a bell bottom is. His hands are like reverse bell bottoms. Now, just like we did with his tail feathers, we've got 3 fingers up here. 1, 2, 3. But then we've also got his thumb feather. Never heard of a thumb feather, but I think he's got one. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up here, and these right here that I'm pointing out with my pencil, these are the points of his feathers. So all you have to do is a V shape, of another V shape, and then go down, out, and down again. And that'll give you your thumb shape. Now if you want to, you can make these fingers a little bit longer than the thumb, a little bit longer than I did, because his finger feathers are a little bit longer. And just like the finger feathers, he had kind of like a couple of little lines up here to indicate some sort of like little decoration or feather shape. Feathers have patterns. Normally a feather, if that's a feather right there, you've got kind of this la 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 kind of thing happening. Right? That's more like what a real feather looks like. But what we're trying to do with Mordecai and Rigby and all these Scoot, all these cartoon characters that you're showing me, is we're trying to get them a little more simplified, so you're really just focusing on the expression of the character, the emotion that the character is trying to portray, rather than does this look like a real feather that you would see outside. Okay, so one other thing on this arm, remember like we did with Rigby's tail, we had these little stripes. On his arm, on Mordecai's arm, there's one, that constitutes one, and then another, so there's two stripes. Two stripes are out. So it's three stripes. Anyway, now I reversed it because normally these are white and his arm is blue, but that's just so you can see those stripes a little bit better. All right, so now over here to his arm. Just like we did with the hot dog body, we're going to come down, curvy elbow, up, go back underneath the chin, go out, and then bell bottom shape. It's a little bit wider here than it is here. And I'm going to try and do this particular hand a little bit more like the actual character. So his thumb is short, like that, little triangle shape, and then 1, 2, 3 fingers. So his fingers are a little bit longer. This is a little bit more like what he looks like, and he's got 1, 2, 1, 2, these little patterns, 1, 2, and 1, 2. Little patterns on his fingers, for like kind of like the feather. Over here on his arm, just like on this side, we've got the curvy shape. Kind of makes it look a little three-dimensional. Like that. Let's see, I'm going to make his beak a little bit darker. All right, check this out. So his legs, one leg is in front of the other. So if you come down, check this out. At the bottom, what's that? At the bottom of his body, right here, I'm just going to emphasize the bottom of his body a little bit. We're going to have one place where his leg comes out and another place where his leg comes out. That's just to indicate the direction of both of those legs. This first leg is in front. So what we're going to do is we're going to come down. We're going to go 1, 2, and come back up. And this is tricky. We got to try and make the line the same distance apart right there, like I did. So down at the foot, he's got these two big toes, or I forget what you call it, talons. I don't know if they're called a talon when it's a tiny bird. And you got to try and make these lines not touch. It's kind of like if you've ever played the game Operation, where you kind of these little tweezers and you try to take things out of the guy's body without touching the side. Think about that, like, so when you're coming down here with your other line, pretend like if you come over here and touch the other line, you're going to go zzz. So you got to try and keep those lines just far apart, just enough so that they're equal distance, like this. Anyway, so you got the next leg just like the other one, except it's gonna stop right about here where I just made that line. So we start at the body, come down, go around, one toe, two toes, or talon, whatever you want to call it. And there we go. And the other cool thing that's happening with this, just like with the other three-dimensional objects we've drawn, what you can do, you can decide whether you want your curved line to go like that or like that. One or the other. I'm just going to go, because his body is curved more like this one, I'm going to go curve, 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 and so on and so forth. Curve, curve, and you can kind of do the same thing to his toes and the other leg. And you can make as many of these as you want, really. I mean, I guess if you made enough of them, his leg would look like it was colored in, but you don't want to do that many. Just enough to make it look like, you know, I think what this is imitating, just like the feather over here is imitated by this pattern on his hand. On his leg, you're kind of imitating scales, kind of like the shingles on the roof of your house. A lot of animals have scales, and they're basically just kind of like simplified what I'm doing here. These little square shapes that are laying on top of each other, and they protect the skin. Yeah. Woo! You know what I really like about yours? It's different from mine. Is you've got these jagged lines coming out of his body and his head and his tail, or not? His tail and his legs, and it makes it look like he's vibrating, like he's got a lot of energy. If that makes any sense. And a lot of cartoon illustrators do that. They will. So check it out. Look at this. Let me show you what I'm talking about. What you just did is similar to this. So if I was to draw this without any jagged lines, it just kind of sits there, right? But one thing I can do without changing this is just create a bunch of extra lines on the outside like that, and it looks like it's kind of vibrating just because of all of those repeated lines. But another way you can do it is you can just make your line jagged to begin with, like this, like a Christmas tree.
I pretty much got an idea from, like, you know how cartoon characters usually turn, like, very, like, fiery and,
like Goku?
The ones that are angry. Yeah, like, turn, like, into a bad version of themselves, and then they pretty much, in their, like, design changes to look, like, more mad.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, I can think of several cartoons that do that. Sometimes they even get more realistic, I've seen that happen on SpongeBob. I've seen it happen on Dragon Ball.
Dragon Ball?
Yeah, you may not know about that, but there's, I've seen it happen on Pokemon.
Oh yeah, Pokemon's awesome.
Yeah, I liked that picture of Pikachu that you drew. That was great.
Like, remember that word portrait of Pikachu that's, like, made out of, like, all Pikas and Pikachus?
Yeah, he did a word portrait of Pika, with just Pika and Pikachu.
Just made out of, oh man, that's cool. I want to see that.